Kieran's ship glided silently through the dark expanse of the Valen star cluster. He had traveled many light years, exploring unknown planets and mapping star systems that humans had never seen before. Space was quiet, cold and unforgiving. But Kieran had always loved the feeling of the unknown stretching endlessly before him. Yet this time, something unusual caught his attention. A small distress signal coming from a nearby asteroid belt. Curiosity and caution battled inside him. Kieran adjusted the ship's sensors, scanning the signal's source. What he found made him freeze. A group of space slavers had captured a small alien child and kept her locked in a cage, floating between rocks in the belt. The slavers' ship was heavily armed, and Kieran knew he could not fight them head-on. But the sight of the child, trembling and alone, sparked something deep within him. He could not leave her there. Kieran's ship moved closer, cloaked in darkness to avoid detection. He studied the slaver ship carefully, noticing weak points in its structure. He realized that a direct attack would be dangerous, but a clever trick could work. With careful planning, Kieran activated a magnetic pulse that disabled the slaver ship's shields for a brief moment. It was risky, but it worked. The slavers scrambled to react, and in the confusion, Kieran maneuvered his ship toward the floating cage. The cage hung by energy chains, spinning slowly among the asteroids. Inside, the child's large eyes were wide with fear. She looked different from any alien Kieran had seen before. Her skin shimmered faintly under the dim light of distant stars, and her small hands clutched the bars of the cage desperately. When she saw Kieran's ship approach, a mixture of hope and fear crossed her face. Kieran extended the ship's mechanical arm carefully and reached the cage. The chains resisted, but Kieran's steady hands and precise control cut through the energy links. Sparks flew as the last chain fell away and the cage floated free. The child stared at him silently, too shocked to speak. "Don't be afraid," Kieran said softly. "I'm here to help you." The child hesitated, then slowly stepped out of the cage. She was light and fragile, almost like she could vanish in the emptiness of space if he didn't hold on to her. Kieran gently lifted her into his ship and closed the airlock behind them. Inside, the warmth of the cabin was a comfort. The child sank to the floor, her hands covering her face. "My name is Kieran," he said quietly, keeping his voice calm. "What's your name?" The child peeked at him cautiously. "Tali," she whispered. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "Tali," Kieran repeated, smiling gently. "You're safe now. I promise." Tali looked around the ship with wide eyes, taking in the strange machines, glowing lights, and the vast view of stars through the viewport. For the first time in her young life, she felt a flicker of hope. She clung to Kieran's side, feeling his steady presence. Kieran knew the danger was not over. The slavers would not give up easily. He activated the ship's engines, weaving through the asteroid field with precision. Small lasers fired from the slaver ship behind them. But Kieran's quick thinking and expert piloting kept them safe. He moved from shadow to shadow, using the asteroids as cover until the slavers finally gave up and retreated. Once they were at a safe distance, Kieran turned to Tali. "We're not completely safe yet," he said. "But I'll make sure you have a place where no one can hurt you." Tali nodded silently, trusting him more than she had ever trusted anyone. Her small hand slipped into his, and Kieran felt a sense of responsibility, heavier than any cargo he had ever carried. She was not just a passenger, she was a life he had saved. A life that mattered. As the ship traveled deeper into space, Kieran spoke gently to Tali, asking her questions about her world, her family, and the strange culture she came from. Tali answered slowly at first, but with every word she began to regain strength and confidence. Kieran could see a spark in her eyes, a determination to survive and a curiosity about the universe she had barely seen. That night, as the stars shimmered endlessly outside the ship's viewport, Kieran kept watch while Tali slept safely in the cabin. He knew this was only the beginning of a long journey. But for the first time, he felt that even in the vast loneliness of space, one human act of courage could light up someone's entire world. The ship hummed softly as it sailed through the quiet darkness of space. Kieran kept his eyes on the navigation screen, making small adjustments to stay on course. Tali sat near the viewport, staring at the stars as if they were tiny fires burning just for her. Though she was safe for the moment, Kieran knew the slavers would not give up so easily. They were clever, persistent, and ruthless. He had to get her far away from them. We need to reach the human colony, Kieran said, breaking the silence. It's far from here, but it's the safest place I know. Tali nodded silently. She still clung to Kieran's hand, not because she was afraid, but because she wanted reassurance. Kieran looked at her and saw a strength that surprised him. She had been through so much already, yet her eyes held curiosity and determination. The journey would not be simple. The slavers' patrols were scattered across the sector, and sensors were constantly scanning for any trace of escaping ships. Kieran plotted a course through a dense asteroid field, a path too dangerous for most pilots, but perfect for someone who could think quickly and act precisely. Hold on tight, Kieran warned, as the ship weaved sharply between massive rocks. Tali gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles white. Small rocks scratched the hull, and the ship rocked with every near collision, but Kieran's skill kept them safe. After several tense hours, they reached a small hidden system, far from the usual trade routes. Here Kieran had prepared a temporary base, an old abandoned space station that had once been a mining hub. It was quiet, dusty, and full of shadows, but it would keep them hidden long enough to plan their next move. Inside the station, Kieran activated the life support systems and Tali explored carefully, her small feet making soft sounds on the metal floor. It's big, she said, her voice filled with wonder. Is this your home? Kieran shook his head with a smile. Not exactly, but it's a safe place for now. You can rest here and no one will find you. Tali's eyes sparkled with relief. For the first time since she had been captured, she felt like she could breathe. She wandered through the empty corridors, touching walls and doors, fascinated by the strange technology. Kieran watched her quietly, realizing that even in this lonely station, her curiosity brought life to the cold metal space. As night fell, or what passed for night in the station, Kieran prepared a small meal. He had brought rations for both of them, but he shared stories too, telling Tali about humans, distant worlds, and the beauty of exploration. Tali listened carefully, asking questions and slowly beginning to speak more confidently. I want to see my planet again, she said quietly, her gaze distant. But I don't want to go back there like before. I want to be free. Really free? Kieran nodded. He understood. And you will be, he promised. But first you need to learn about the universe and how to protect yourself. Knowledge is a kind of freedom, Tali. The more you know, the safer you will be. Over the next few days, Kieran began teaching Tali. He showed her how to read star maps, how to use basic technology, and even how to defend herself in case danger returned. Tali proved to be quick and clever, absorbing every lesson with focus. Kieran was impressed. She was not only intelligent but brave, a combination that could change her destiny entirely. One evening, while they were practicing navigation on the station's simulation deck, Tali paused and looked at Kieran. Why did you save me? She asked. Her voice was quiet but steady, filled with genuine curiosity. Kieran thought for a moment. Because it was the right thing to do, he said simply. Everyone deserves a chance to live freely. You had a life stolen from you and I could not let that happen. You are important, Tali, not just to me but to the universe in your own way. Tali's eyes shimmered. For the first time she felt that she mattered. Not just as a small alien girl in danger, but as someone who could grow, learn, and make a difference. That realization gave her a spark of hope she had never felt before. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, shining like distant promises. Kieran and Tali stood together at the viewport, silently watching, both feeling the weight of the journey ahead. Danger was not gone, but for the first time, Tali believed that with Kieran by her side, she could face anything. And so, in the quiet of the hidden station, their bond grew stronger. The rescuer and the rescued, teacher and student, friend and protector, they began a journey that would change both of their lives forever. After several days hiding on the abandoned station, Kieran knew it was time to move. The slavers might regroup and search the system again, and Tali's safety depended on reaching a secure place. He plotted a course for the nearest human colony, a small settlement on a planet called Leora. The colony was far away, deep in unexplored space, but Kieran trusted its people. They were kind, fair, and would protect Tali without question. The journey through open space was long and quiet. Tali spent most of the time staring out at the stars, lost in thought. Occasionally, she would ask Kieran questions about human life. "Do humans have families like mine?" she asked one day, her voice soft. "Yes," Kieran replied. "Families are very important to humans. People care for each other and protect each other. That's something you will understand soon." Tali nodded slowly, then looked down at her hands. "I never had a real family," she said. "They took me away when I was very small." Her voice trembled slightly, but Kieran put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You still have a family now," he said. "Not by blood maybe, but by trust and care. That matters too." When they finally approached Leora, the planet looked peaceful. Green forests stretched across continents. Sparkling rivers curved through valleys, and small cities dotted the landscape. The colony was one of the smaller settlements, built carefully so it could blend with the natural surroundings. Kieran guided the ship to a hidden landing pad, keeping it out of sight from any potential threats. As they stepped onto the planet, Tali's eyes widened at the fresh air and bright sunlight. The feeling of being on solid ground after so many years in cages and ships was almost overwhelming. She laughed softly, a sound that was full of wonder and relief. Kieran smiled, happy to see her enjoy such a simple pleasure. The colony leader, a kind woman named Mara, greeted them warmly. "Kieran, it's been too long," she said, hugging him briefly. Then she noticed Tali standing behind him, unsure but curious. "And who is this?" she asked kindly. "This is Tali," Kieran said. She's someone very important. I rescued her from slavers. I need your help to keep her safe and give her a proper life." Mara knelt to Tali's level and offered a hand. "Hello, Tali. Welcome to Leora. You are safe here. No one will harm you." Tali hesitated for a moment, then slowly took Mara's hand. The warmth of the colony, the gentle smiles, and the soft words made her feel something she had not felt before: belonging. She realized that for the first time she had a chance to start anew. Kieran stayed by her side, showing her around the colony. He introduced her to the children and teachers, letting her see how life could be filled with learning, friendship, and trust. Tali was a quick learner. She absorbed everything eagerly, fascinated by the technology, the books, and even the games. "Do you like it here?" Kieran asked one evening as they watched the sun set behind the colony's hills. I do," Tali said quietly. "It feels safe. It feels like home." Kieran nodded, feeling a deep sense of relief. He had saved her from the slavers, but now he realized that giving her a life full of hope and learning was just as important. Over the next few weeks, he continued teaching her reading, basic science, history, and even some self-defense techniques. Tali proved clever and brave, quickly mastering skills that took most children months to learn. But life on Leora was not without challenges. Occasionally, rumors of slaver activity reached the colony, making Tali anxious. Kieran reassured her each time, teaching her how to stay alert and plan for safety. Tali learned not to fear the universe, but to respect it and prepare for what it might throw at her. One day, as Tali practiced with a small training drone under Kieran's guidance, she paused and looked at him with determination. "I want to be strong," she said. "Not just for me, but for everyone who cannot defend themselves." Kieran smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "That is the right thought, Tali. Strength is not just about fighting. It is about protecting, learning, and helping others. You are going to grow into someone very special." As the days turned into weeks, Tali's confidence grew. She no longer trembled at shadows or flinched at loud noises. She laughed freely, learned quickly, and began to dream about her future. And while Kieran watched her thrive, he knew that the girl he had saved from a cage in the asteroid belt was slowly becoming someone who could change the world. Outside, the stars shone above Leora, a reminder that even in the vast darkness of space, hope and courage could light a path forward. 20 years had passed since Kieran had rescued Tali from the slavers. The little alien girl who had once trembled in a cage was now a tall, confident woman. Her eyes still held that faint shimmer unique to her species, but they were filled with intelligence, strength, and calm determination. She had spent years on Leora, learning, growing, and discovering the universe with Kieran by her side. The colony had become her home, and the humans there had become her family. One quiet morning, a message arrived from deep space. It came from her home planet, Zira, a world Tali had almost forgotten after years away. The message was simple yet powerful. Her people faced new dangers, and they needed a leader who could unite them. Factions had grown divided. and the planet's rulers were unable to handle threats from outside forces. They were asking for her help. Tali read the message several times, her heart racing. She had always known this day might come, but seeing it in writing brought a mix of excitement and fear. "Kieran," she said, her voice steady but trembling slightly. "They want me to come back. They want me to lead." Kieran looked at her carefully. He saw the same spark in her eyes that had made him rescue her so long ago. "Tali," he said softly, "this is the moment your life and your courage meet. You are ready. You have everything you need to guide them." Tali nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "But," he said, "I've been living among humans for so long. I don't know if I can fit in there anymore." Kieran smiled gently. "You are Xerian by birth, but you have grown here among humans. That gives you a strength no one else has. You understand both worlds. That is exactly why you can lead." After careful preparation, Tali and Kieran set off in his ship toward Zira. The journey was long, spanning light years of empty space, but Tali spent the time studying the history, culture, and politics of her people. She remembered the lessons Kieran had taught her about courage, strategy, and compassion. She realized that knowledge and wisdom were as important as bravery. As Zira came into view, Tali felt a mixture of awe and nostalgia. The planet's surface glowed with vibrant forests and shimmering cities, but she could also see the signs of unrest, smoke rising from distant settlements, scattered patrols, and tension in the atmosphere. The sight reminded her of why she had been asked to return. When they landed, the people of Zira gathered around cautiously, unsure how to react. Here was the girl who had vanished so long ago, now standing tall and confident, dressed in the simple yet elegant clothing of a leader. Whispers spread quickly through the crowd. "It's her. Tali." "She has returned." Tali stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I have come to help you," she said. "I know this world, I know its people, and I know its challenges. Together we can bring peace and strength back to Zira." Some elders and leaders were skeptical. They had seen many claim to lead, and most had failed. But Tali spoke not with arrogance, but with clarity and wisdom beyond her years. She shared her knowledge of both Zira and human ways, demonstrating how cooperation, understanding, and careful planning could solve problems. Slowly the elders began to nod, and the tension in the crowd eased. Kieran watched quietly from the side. He felt pride swelling in his chest, mixed with a touch of sadness. He had raised Tali, taught her, and protected her, but now she was stepping into a role that he could not follow. She would lead not as a human's pupil, but as her own person, strong and capable. Over the next few days, Tali began meeting with the leaders and people of Zira, listening to their concerns and forming plans to strengthen the planet's unity. Her ideas were practical, fair, and filled with hope. Slowly, she earned their trust. The people saw that the girl they had once known had returned as someone much greater, a leader who could guide them through the difficult times ahead. One evening, as the sun set over Zira's crystalline towers, Tali stood on a balcony overlooking the city. She felt the weight of her responsibility, but also a sense of purpose she had never felt before. She thought of Kieran, of Leora, and of the lessons he had taught her. Without him, she might never have survived, never have grown into the person who could face this moment. And in that quiet moment, Tali realized something important. Courage was not just about facing danger. It was about stepping forward when the world needed you most. She had been saved once, and now she had the chance to save others, to protect her people, and to create a future where no one would have to suffer as she had. The stars above Zira seemed to shine brighter that night, as if acknowledging the beginning of a new era. Tali was no longer just a rescued girl. She was becoming a queen. Tali stood in the Grand Council chamber of Zira, her heart steady but her mind alert. Leaders from every region of her planet had gathered, their expressions a mixture of hope, skepticism, and curiosity. They had heard of her return and the years she had spent learning among humans, and now they wanted to see if she could truly guide them through the challenges that threatened their world. Tali took a deep breath and began to speak. "I know this planet has faced division and fear," she said, her voice calm and clear. "But I also know its people are brave, clever, and capable of greatness. We can solve our problems, but only if we work together." Murmurs ran through the room. Some nodded, others frowned, unsure whether a human-raised alien could understand the complexities of their society. But Tali was prepared. She outlined her ideas for reform. strengthening communication between regions, improving education and technology, and training a new generation of leaders who could think logically and act wisely. Our strength lies not in our weapons alone, Tali continued. It lies in knowledge, cooperation, and courage. I will work with every one of you to make Zira stronger, safer, and united, but I cannot do this alone. I need your trust and your effort. The room grew quiet. Then slowly, one of the elder leaders, a tall Zirian named Varun, spoke. You were raised among humans, yet you understand us, he said. Your words carry wisdom. Perhaps it is time to try a new way. Tali smiled gently. We will honor our traditions, but we will also embrace change where it is needed. Together we can face any danger and ensure our children grow up in a safer, brighter world. Over the following days, Tali began implementing her plans. She visited schools, showing children how to think critically and work together. She spoke with scientists and engineers, combining Zirian ingenuity with lessons she had learned from humans. She met with farmers, builders, and healers, listening to their concerns and making decisions that benefited everyone. It was not always easy. Some leaders resisted her ideas, clinging to old ways or fearing her human influence, but Tali faced them with patience and determination. She held private meetings, explained her reasoning, and demonstrated the benefits of collaboration. Slowly, more and more leaders began to see that her guidance brought positive results. Meanwhile, Tali's presence inspired the people of Zira. Citizens who had once been afraid to speak up now contributed their ideas. Communities that had been isolated began sharing resources and knowledge. Tali encouraged innovation, but also reminded everyone to value fairness, honesty, and courage. Her influence spread quietly but steadily, like sunlight breaking through clouds. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Tali stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The streets below were filled with activity, children laughing, workers finishing their tasks, families walking together. She felt a deep satisfaction. She had returned not just to rule, but to help her people grow stronger. Kiran, who had accompanied her to Zira as her advisor, joined her quietly. You've done more than I imagined, Tali, he said. They respect you and they are beginning to believe in your vision. Tali looked at him, her eyes reflecting the city lights. I could not have done it without you, Kiran. You taught me courage, kindness, and wisdom. I hope I'm making you proud, Kiran smiled warmly. You are making the universe proud, Tali. You turned a second chance into a life that will change countless others. That is the mark of true leadership. As days turned into weeks, Tali continued to travel across Zira, meeting people, solving disputes, and guiding communities. Her reforms strengthened trade, education, and technology. Regions that had once been suspicious of each other began to cooperate. And even in the face of small attacks from rogue groups or outside threats, Tali's leadership kept the planet united and safe. Through it all, Tali never forgot her roots, the courage of the human who had saved her, the hope she had felt as a frightened child, and the lessons she had learned on Leora. She knew that leadership was not just about power, but about responsibility, care, and the ability to inspire others to be their best. And so, as the twin moons rose over Zira, Tali felt a quiet confidence. She was no longer the rescued child of the past. She was a queen in her own right, guiding her people with wisdom, compassion, and strength. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in generations, the people of Zira faced it together, ready to build a brighter tomorrow. Tali had grown strong, wise, and respected across Zira. Her reforms were taking root, and her people were united for the first time in generations. Yet even with peace at home, danger loomed on the edges of her sector of the galaxy. The slavers who had once captured her as a child had not forgotten her. They had grown in power and were spreading fear among nearby planets, looking for new victims to exploit. When scouts reported a slaver fleet approaching Zira's outer system, Tali felt a surge of determination. She knew that this was the moment to protect her people and prove that courage and strategy could defeat even the most ruthless enemies. We will not run, she told her council. We will defend our planet and we will show that no one can take what we value most, freedom and life. The council worked quickly under her guidance. Tali studied the slavers' tactics from old reports and used the knowledge Kiran had taught her about strategy and problem-solving. She coordinated the planetary defense forces, assigning ships to intercept the enemy while establishing safe zones for civilians. Her mind worked like a carefully tuned machine, considering every possible outcome and every risk. The slaver fleet arrived with a roar, their ships dark and menacing against the stars. They expected fear and hesitation, but what they found was a planet united and prepared. Zira's defenders, led by Tali herself, moved with precision, cutting off the enemy's advances and protecting critical infrastructure. From her command center, Tali guided her forces, issuing clear instructions. "Divide their ships into smaller groups," she said. "Use the asteroid belts as cover. Force them to scatter. Keep the civilians safe above all." Her words were calm but firm, inspiring confidence in every pilot and soldier. The battle raged across the skies of Zira. Explosions lit the darkness and energy beams flashed between ships. The slavers were clever, but they had not anticipated a leader who understood both tactics and the human spirit. Tali's strategies forced the enemy into mistakes, and soon their fleet began to falter. Amid the chaos, Tali remembered her own past, the fear she had felt as a child trapped in a cage. That memory fueled her determination. She knew what it meant to be helpless, and she would never allow her people to feel the same. With each command, she guided her fleet, turning the tide of the battle. After hours of tense combat, the slaver fleet was in retreat. Many ships had been disabled and their morale shattered. Tali did not pursue them recklessly. Instead, she used her advantage to ensure they would not threaten Zira again. Her planning and foresight made the difference. As the last enemy ship disappeared into the distance, the defenders of Zira cheered. The planet was safe, and the people looked to Tali not just as a queen, but as a protector who had led them through the storm. Civilians emerged from shelters, their faces filled with gratitude and relief. Children waved at the fleet returning home, and elders nodded in respect. Kieran stood beside her in the command center, pride shining in his eyes. "You've done it, Tali," he said. "Not only did you protect your people, but you inspired them. They will never forget this day." Tali smiled, though her thoughts were already moving forward. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We must remain vigilant. Freedom must be protected every day, not just during battles. But today we celebrate our courage, unity, and resilience." That evening, as the twin moons of Zira rose over the city, Tali walked among her people. They greeted her with respect, waving flags of victory and decorating the streets with flowers. The city was alive with hope and celebration. For the first time, Tali felt that the lessons she had learned on Leora, the courage she had gained from Kieran, and the strength of her own people had come together to create a brighter future. Kieran placed a hand on her shoulder. "You were once a small, frightened girl," he said softly, "and now you have become someone the universe can trust. Someone who can inspire entire civilizations. I am proud of you, Tali." Tali looked up at the stars, feeling the weight of her journey. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, yet she had grown stronger with every challenge. Her people were safe, her planet united, and her courage proven. And she knew that, no matter what the universe might throw at her next, she would face it with the same determination and wisdom that had brought her this far. Under the shining stars, Tali realized that the child she had once been, the one saved from slavers, was gone. In her place stood a queen, a protector, and a leader whose bravery and wisdom would be remembered for generations. The days after the battle passed in a blur of activity. Tali moved among her people with confidence and grace, ensuring that every village, town, and city on Zira had recovered from the attack. Supplies were distributed, repairs were made, and morale was restored. But more than the work of rebuilding, Tali wanted to recognize those who had fought bravely and to honor Kieran, the man who had saved her life and taught her the courage and wisdom she now carried. She called for a ceremony in the central plaza of the capital city. Citizens gathered from every region, eager to witness the queen who had not only defended their planet but united them in ways no one had thought possible. Children waved flags, elders smiled with pride, and soldiers stood tall, their uniforms shining under the light of the twin suns. Tali stepped onto the raised platform, her presence commanding yet warm. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the plaza. "Today we celebrate courage, unity, and the strength of every Zirian who stood for freedom," she said. "But I also wish to honor someone very special. A human who believed in me when I was a frightened child, who taught me that courage is not about fearlessness, but about standing up for what is right. That person is Kieran." A hush fell over the crowd as Kieran stepped forward. He looked older now, his hair streaked with gray, but his eyes were filled with pride and warmth. Tali approached him and took his hand, bowing slightly in respect. "You saved me once," she said softly, "and you gave me the lessons I needed to lead, to protect, and to inspire. You are part of this victory, Kieran, and always a part of my life." Kieran's eyes shone with emotion. "Tali," he said, his voice steady but full of feeling, "you have become someone extraordinary. Watching you grow from a frightened child to a wise and brave queen, it is more than I could have ever hoped for. I am proud of you, and I am grateful to have been a part of your journey." The crowd erupted into cheers, and Kieran nodded humbly, acknowledging their respect. Tali turned to the citizens, her eyes bright with determination. "This day is not just about victory in battle," she said. "It is about the courage to change, to learn, and to protect what we love. Each of you has shown that courage. Together we are stronger than any enemy, smarter than any challenge, and braver than any fear." As the ceremony continued, Tali moved among her people, shaking hands, sharing smiles, and listening to their stories. Many thanked her, but she often spoke of Kieran, ensuring that everyone knew that courage and kindness were not limited to one person or one species. Her words inspired hope, not just for the present but for the future. After the ceremony, Tali and Kieran walked quietly through the gardens of the palace. Flowers glowed softly under the evening light, and the air carried a gentle warmth. The two of them were silent for a moment, simply enjoying the peace they had helped create. "You have done more than I imagined," Kieran said, "not just leading your people, but teaching them to believe in themselves and in each other. That is a rare gift," Tali smiled. "I learned from the best," she replied. "You showed me that one act of kindness, one moment of courage can change a life, and that life can change the world." They paused at a balcony overlooking the city, where lanterns floated in the evening sky, casting a golden glow across the streets. The people of Zira moved like a river below, living their lives freely and safely. Tali felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that her people were thriving because of unity, courage, and care. Kieran turned to her with a gentle expression. "You've truly become a queen, Tali. Not just in title, but in heart, mind, and spirit. The universe will remember you for generations." Tali looked at him, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and resolve. "And I will never forget you, Kieran. You gave me a chance, a life, and a future. I promise to honor that in everything I do." As the twin moons of Zira rose into the night sky, Tali and Kieran stood side by side, watching over a city filled with hope and light. The past, the fear, the pain, the danger was behind them. The present was filled with unity, trust, and accomplishment. And the future, Tali knew, held endless possibilities for her people and for the bond between humans and Zirians. In that moment, Tali understood something deeply. True leadership was not just about power or authority. It was about courage, compassion, and the ability to inspire others to rise above fear and doubt. And with Kieran's guidance still alive in her heart, she was ready to face whatever challenges awaited, confident that the legacy of hope she had begun would continue to shine across the stars. The years following the great battle passed peacefully, yet Tali never stopped working for her people. As queen, she traveled across Zira, visiting cities, villages, and remote settlements. She encouraged innovation, education, and fairness, ensuring that no one felt left behind. The lessons she had learned from Kieran guided her in every decision. Courage, wisdom, and compassion were at the center of her rule. Tali's influence reached beyond her planet. She began establishing alliances with nearby human colonies and other alien worlds, forming a network of trust and cooperation. Traders, scientists, and explorers from different systems came to Zira to share knowledge, goods, and culture. Tali believed that unity was not just a necessity for defense, it was a path to progress, growth, and peace. One day, news arrived of a distant world suffering under harsh rulers and environmental disaster. Tali acted immediately, sending aid and advice. She shared technology to clean water, methods to repair farmland, and strategies to organize their leaders for fair governance. The people of that planet soon began to rebuild, and word of Tali's help spread across the galaxy. Her reputation was no longer limited to Zira, it extended to distant stars. Despite her busy schedule, Tali always remembered Kieran. He had stayed by her side during her rise, offering counsel, support, and friendship. Whenever she faced a difficult decision, she thought of his teachings. Courage was not absence of fear, but acting despite it. Wisdom was understanding others. Strength was protecting the weak. These lessons shaped every choice she made. One evening, Tali invited Kieran to the Palace Observatory, a place where the twin moons of Zira reflected on polished floors and the stars stretched endlessly above. "Kieran," she said softly, "I want you to see what your guidance has created. This is your legacy too." Kieran looked around, marveling at the thriving city below and the advanced technology integrated seamlessly with nature. "It's extraordinary, Tali," he said, his voice filled with pride. "You've done more than I could have imagined. You didn't just save a planet, you inspired a civilization." Tali smiled, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and determination. "I could not have done it without you. You gave me the courage to believe in myself, and that belief has allowed me to help countless others. Every person I help, every life I touch carries a piece of your guidance." As they stood together, the city lights twinkling below and stars shining above, Tali realized that her journey had come full circle. The frightened girl who had once been trapped by slavers had grown into a wise and compassionate queen. She had faced danger, united her people, defeated enemies, and built a legacy of hope that would last for generations. Tali also knew that her work was never truly finished. The universe was vast, and new challenges would always arise. But she had learned that courage, unity, and wisdom were more powerful than any threat. And with allies across the galaxy, including humans who had once saved her, she was confident that any obstacle could be overcome. In the months that followed, Tali continued to strengthen her alliances. She encouraged exchange programs, where young Zirians and humans could learn from each other. Scientists collaborated on energy solutions, and explorers shared discoveries from distant planets. Tali believed that the future belonged to those who worked together, and her vision of unity began to take shape across multiple worlds. One afternoon, she visited a school in the capital city. Children gathered around, curious and excited. Tali knelt to their level and spoke gently. "Courage and kindness are the greatest strengths you can have," she said. "Even a single act of goodness can change the world. Remember, no matter where you come from, you can make a difference." The children listened with wide eyes, absorbing her words. Tali smiled, thinking of her own journey. The fear, the rescue, the lessons, and the hope that had guided her. She understood that the future of Zira, and perhaps the universe, depended on inspiring new generations to be brave, wise, and compassionate. As night fell, Tali and Kieran stood once more on the observatory balcony. The twin moons reflected in their eyes, and the stars stretched like a promise across the sky. "You've built a world worth protecting," Kieran said quietly. "And I will continue to protect it," Tali replied. "Not alone, but with all those who believe in courage, kindness, and unity. This is what I learned from you, Kieran. This is what I will pass on." The wind carried the quiet sounds of a peaceful city, and Tali felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had faced the darkness of the universe and turned it into light. The girl who had once been rescued from slavers was now a queen, whose courage and wisdom inspired countless lives. And as the stars glimmered above Zira, Tali knew that hope, kindness, and courage would continue to shine across the galaxy for generations to come.